And
Hello.
okay, great, Ian. We sound great. Thanks. Very good. So
Oh,
welcome to
good.
everyone, and thank you to Ian for joining us, and thank you to everyone for joining us as well. Um, we have almost 18%. Well, we have 18 participants. That's fantastic. So great to have Ian with us. And I'd just like to say before we start, I've known Ian for a long, long time, and back in the days when I used to work for AbilityNet, even then, Ian was doing creating some fantastic resources, switch resources. And I remember one of my favourites was it Beat the Goalie, Ian, where you had a switch and you had to take a penalty and beat the goalkeeper.
Penalty, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great.
I just updated that, to be honest, just before
Uh
Christmas.
huh.
I decided it could do with a refresh
Yeah,
because I thought it'll be just a really quick 5 minute thing.
it wasn't.
But yeah, it's good. It's back up and running. And if you want a version specially for your football team, let me know and I'll make you one.
Well, Dunfermline Athletic isn't worth mentioning just now, so probably not. And of course, the other great thing about Ian, as well as being very innovative and resourceful, he's just been fantastic in the way he just makes those resources available for free. So they're fantastic. Uh, and of course, the other thing that I really appreciate Ian's work on was the switch progression roadmap. So that's a great little booklet about taking you through different uses of switch and the progression and the various sort of roadmaps and routes you can use with switch progression. So another great resource. And I'm not sure if that's still available. Ian, you might be best pleased to know.
It is, yeah. It's available, but only through Inclusive Technologies website. So it's a bit of a mess. If you search for it through Google, you'll get a direct link to it on the Inclusive Technologies website. Do need to put your email address in, and they will send you marketing emails because of it. But it's still very worthwhile
Yeah.
downloading that,
Very good.
despite the fact it's nearly 9 years old now.
Yeah.
So some things have changed, some things have stayed the same,
Yeah.
but it's certainly worthwhile. Um, on on both of the websites that I'm going to show you today, there's a much more up to date version of that, where I've kind of looked back and reflected on what's happened in the last 8 or 9 years or so, and made some minor changes to that, just to reflect the differences in the way that we work now, and some of our expectations are different now, I think, than they were then.
Okay.
So it's certainly worthwhile having a look. Oh, and Claire's put a link to it. That's even
And
better.
hello
Yeah.
to Marion, Jessica, and Claire, who have just joined us as well. So that's great. Thanks. And Sharon as well. So we can see everyone's names just now, but when we have the recording, because Robert, my colleague's just recording this session, so you can watch it in the archive, but everyone's names are anonymized, so no one can see your name. So just for this the purpose of this session only. So I'm going to, without further ado, ask Ian to maybe start his presentation, and we'll get some questions at the end of the session. So if you can think of any questions while Ian's presenting, pop them into the text pane, and then we'll sort of have a look at them at the end and get Ian to answer any of the questions. So if we could just get Ian to click onto the desktop and then maybe show some of his resources, that would be great. Thanks, Ian.
Just bear with me 30 seconds, and and you should be able to see one of our websites, right? Good.
Yep.
Okay, so my plan for today was really to take you through two websites. Annoyingly, I have both of them, and annoyingly, they have very similar names. So there's two websites. One's called SANICT, and the address for that is ianbean.co.uk. That's my everyday work kind of website. And on there, what I've tried to do is pull together all of the resources that I've found useful, resources that I've created for other people, and put them all together into one simple kind of place for people to get access to. You need to join this website. They're largely for no other reason other than I wanted a little wall between it and the rest of the world, largely because my plan was to put those activities on there in a way so that students could use them themselves, they could use them online, and there wouldn't be anything distracting or any external links which they could use to take them away from the website. So you join, you put your email address in, It's absolutely free. I absolutely promise you right now, I'll never send you a marketing email. I gave up on that 2 years ago. So I've never sent anybody a newsletter or a marketing email in the best part of 2 years. So it's purely as a protection system, really, for the students who use the website. Once you log in, you'll end up on this page, which is the resources page. At this part here, you can see, click here to use our online accessible teaching activities. These are activities which I've created, which run in your web browser, and they work with switches, touchscreens, mouse, rollerball, joystick, head pointing systems, and eye gaze systems. So whatever the child's using in the classroom, they'll be able to use these resources in somewhere or another. Lots of schools use them on their interactive whiteboard, especially some of the school routine things like good morning songs and the days of the week and what's the weather, those kind of activities. I've organised them into categories to make them easier to find because there's 250 of them. So for example, if you were looking for something from a piece of an activity around somebody from a child's film, you click the films and it will bring up this lovely choosing activity page. All of the pictures that you can see on the screen are actually available as PDF choosing cards. So if you click there, there's a link at the bottom there, and that will bring you to a whole series of printable cards which you can use for PECS books or if you want to use for talk sheets. So if you wanted an activity around, I don't know, Mickey Mouse activity, you click Mickey Mouse, you need to click this little button here just to allow it once, and Mickey Mouse will load. Take a second, and there we go. All of the activities work the same way. So once you've used one, you'll be able to use all of them. This is changing the color of the switch if you want to use switches. I don't put any value at all in being able to change the color of the switch, especially with children with severe and complex additional needs. I think we need to remember what it is that we're using this activity for. It's a cause and effect activity. It's at some of the very earliest levels of learning. And if we put a switch which matches the switch on screen, we're asking the child in some ways to match the color of the switch. And that's quite a complex skill. Far better to ignore the switch colors altogether and put a picture of Mickey Mouse on the switch. If the activity brings Mickey Mouse, there needs to be a picture of Mickey Mouse on the screen. If you're going to use a touchscreen, we choose this one. And what will happen with touchscreen activities is we will get targets in 5 random places on the screen. It will always start in the screen center, and then it will move around the screen every time the child plays through the activity. So the child will have to look for and touch the target. In the free activities, the target's always the same size, so it's relatively large, thinking about children's dexterity. But it will be in one of 5 different places. The same with the mouse. If you choose the mouse level, you'll get a huge large mouse pointer. I'll show you, for example. Huge mouse pointer like this. When we mouse over the object, can you see that it's highlighted, which gives the child a cue that their mouse is in the right place. This level is eye gaze. And this is set up in a very specific way, because I have some quite fixed ways in which I like to work with eye gaze. I don't really care very much for very early sensory eye gaze things. Do you know, the child looks at the screen and they make patterns as their eyes move. I think those kind of activities have value, but they're very difficult for us to be able to understand what works for a child and what doesn't, whether the child has actually understanding that they're making those things. So I like to use activities where there's at least some dwell click time. And these activities, in all of these free activities, have a dwell click time of half a second, which is very short, but enough to know that the child actually had to look at and maintain gaze on that target for a short length of time. So for example, if we were to choose switches, when we press our switch, we get some Mickey Mouse. And this particular activity has 5 different Mickey Mouse songs hidden in there, and it will choose one or another depending at random. So all of those activities kind of work like that, and they run online. I'll just go back to the main screen again. You can see that there's music from TV shows, pop stars, school topics, celebrations around the world. There's a lovely activity for St Andrew's Day in there. There's some activities from a guy called Andy Pidcock. If you've never come across him yet, he's absolutely fantastic. He calls himself the Music Man, and he makes wonderful activities around his music therapy sessions. So this is his Hello song, which I absolutely love. And it's one of the activities I always use when I work with schools. So this activity will come on, takes a second, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, there we go. Again, same controls. If I'm going to use a mouse over.
I said hello, everybody. I said hi, hi. I said hi, hi. Everybody, hi.
So there's lots and lots and lots that you can use. Class topics and routines. Again, lots of activities which have some link to what happens in the classroom. For example, today's weather, or days of the week. Follow the leader, which is a lovely one I was asked to make for a class for their lining up. We're getting ready for lunchtime. They do the follow the leader thing. Lots of schools use them to signal transition between one activity and the next activity. So follow the leader, getting ready for lunchtime. There is a lunchtime song. There's 2 tidy up songs. There's a nice one, which is a lovely tidy up song, a folk song. And the other one is set to the music of Mission Impossible. I think that teacher had a particular view on class and tidying up. So there's lots of those, and they're all available to use online. They're all free. If, however, you want to use those activities directly from your computer, if we go down to these folders, you'll see you'll be able to download every single one of those 250 activities, download them into a folder on your computer. Again, all you need to do is click the one that you want, Greatest Showman, Harry Potter, whatever, and it will download a file, double click it, and it will run. I should mention that the download files only work on Windows PC. I used to make them for Mac, but it just got too complicated in trying to keep up with some of the changes that happened with a Macintosh. Excuse me. The other thing you'll find on there is an old program that I was involved in the development of back in 2000. I'm sure some of you guys will have seen or heard of it. The program's called SEN Switcher, and I was involved in the development of that with the Northern Grid for Learning back in 2000. SEN Switcher is a collection of activities which were organised in a way just to demonstrate progression. So from an experiential activity where the child is presented with things to look at, listen to, where there's no expectation that the child will actually take control of that activity, right through to making individual choices by switch scanning. That was developed back in 2000, was online until about 2 years ago, when the Northern Grid for Learning went into receivership and was taken offline. And for a lot of people, we thought that was going to be the end of SEN Switcher. However, I managed to find all of my old development files, rejig them, update them, and now we've got SEN Switcher back online again. I'll probably go to jail if some lawyer sees it, but it means that SEN Switcher is back online. People can use it again. You can see here it's on this lovely page with some very simple teaching tips, some ideas around experiential activities. If you're working at a single press cause and effect, 3 press build activities. I hate building activities. I hate them. And the whole idea of building something with a switch just drives me nuts. But I haven't got time to tell you why. 5 press, pop-up activities, targeting activities, and simple scanning activities. Again, click them. The activity will run exactly the same way. You can choose the activities, turn them on or turn them off. So if we just want to work with a ghost, and I'd really like the ghost to be with a white background and a red ghost. Let's do that. Press go. And again, all of these activities are free. And if you decide that if you want to do that, you can also download them. originally when we made SendSwitcher back in 2000, there really wasn't a version which could be downloaded properly. These are all standalone files that will work for your Windows PC. You can click this SendSwitcher Full, which will download the whole of the program in separate programs so that you can just double click the one that you want. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with it, some switch progression material which you'll find in links here. So if we look at a guide to switch progression, which is slightly more updated than the switch progression roadmap, in the sense that we've made some changes to things like press it again, some concerns around teaching latching and things like that. So there's lots and lots and lots of resources on there which are entirely free. All of those are activities. If you scroll a bit further down, you'll come to this little folder, the set of folders. And in here we've got a whole lot of other stuff. So all those wonderful websites that people have shown me or that I've found, all those fantastic resources that people have shared over Facebook that I've thought, that's really cool, I'm going to try and use that. And put all those together in one place to make it easy. I've pulled together some short videos of training things that I've done, and also some nice little activities. So in the more activities folder, you can see there's a version of Space Invaders that work with switches, which is great. iHarp, which is a music program for eye gaze, cause and effect sensory, Lightbox, Reacticles, semantics, all of those things, including things like Steady Mouse, which will filter out tremors for people who use switches. People who use a mouse. So there's loads and loads and loads of stuff. Everything that's on that website is entirely free. There's absolutely, you join the website with an email address, and from that point onwards, absolutely everything's free. There's 250 activities that you can use with switches, touches, mouse, and eye gaze, and there's probably another 150 other very, very useful resources that you'll find there. So that's ianbean.co.uk. I'm going to just quickly switch to the second of those two websites, which, unlike ianbean.co.uk, this isn't a free website. This is a subscription website. I made this largely because there was so much material around the activities that I wanted to share, and when I spoke to my accountant about with it, he threatened to have me killed if I gave it away for free. It's like my whole career I've tried to share resources at no cost at all possible. But this is a way, I guess, of being able to fund the other websites. So if people subscribe to this, the money that this generates actually pays a lot towards the development and the running costs of the free website. So in one way, they're helping each other. This website's slightly different. Craig mentioned the switch progression roadmap. I wrote that when I was at Inclusive Technology. I wrote it because I had a lot of stuff in my head that years and years and years worth of experience and research that I wanted to get out of my head and share with people. And the switch progression roadmap was that. But it wasn't the only book that I wrote. I actually wrote a very similar book around the idea of using touch devices. So a touchscreen progression document. I wrote something very similar around the idea of pointing devices. So for kids with joysticks or head pointing systems, or kids learning to use a mouse, something very similar around that. And I also wrote the bare bones of something around eye gaze, and looking at what a skills progression through eye gaze might look like. And I know lots of people have gone on to do stuff. Toby kind of made the Toby learning curve, and Inclusive kind of their learning's wheel of learning or something, I don't know. But they all seem to kind of overcomplicate it. Learning eye gaze is a relatively simple thing. The process itself might be complicated, but actually what we're asking the child to do is very similar to what happens with a mouse. So the first thing is noticing that something on the screen, the next thing is actually clicking it, and then the next thing is clicking it when it moves around and choosing which one to click. So it's not that complicated. So I wrote all these extra books. So this website was always somewhere where I could put them. And I guess the easiest way to show you this website is to kind of show you a workflow. So imagine we had a student in our class, and this student is new to us, and and they use a switch and we're not quite sure what they do in terms of with the switch. So we might do a kind of a rough and ready assessment in the classroom. So with this website, I can go to the assessment tab, and I've got to let you know that my internet at home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon is really slow. So this student uses a switch, so I'm going to go into switch, and what this will give me is some level descriptors about and some explanation about those different levels of switching. So if we go to switch progression descriptors, and I might want to work through with that student kind of where I think that they are. Now we'll kind of cut things short and we'll say, okay, so they're kind of at an early cause and effect level where they need to press a switch in a number of different ways in order to demonstrate their understanding of cause and effect. So I know that they're at that level, which in here is level 3. So I can go then from there to the resources and have a look at the resources that I might need in order to set up a program for them. Again, I'm going to choose switches, and if I get a progression sheet for that student, I can find that level 3 cause and effect. The student will press and release a switch to produce a desired effect. Examples use Big Mac timed activation, switch toys, computer software. So I would print that out, and I've got that there. Then I need some activities to use with them. So I'd go to the activities tab. And on this website, I've put activities similar to activities to the activities that are on the free website, except these are much bigger, much more in-depth and much more involved. So I guess the way to think of them is think about things like Big Bang. So I know this student is at level 3 with a switch. So can you see here we've got these levels? So each one of these activities is linked to those level descriptors. So for example, the student I'm working with is 3 with a switch. So move, cause and effect is 3 with a switch. I can find out more about move, cause and effect by clicking the more button. It will tell me all about it. I can even watch a little video here if I want to watch a video about how to set the program up, who it's for, and all of those kind of things. So move, cause and effect is going to be the program I want to use with him. And you can see from the activities tab that actually there are lots of activities which cover that level 3 because it's quite a common level. I can go then to Launchpad, and in the Launchpad I've got access to all of these different activities. I particularly want to use move, cause and effect with this student because it's the right one. I can choose to have the activity in the window, so in a window on the screen, or I can choose to have it full screen. I'm just going to choose full screen just to give you an indication of how it looks. You can see this is slightly more involved in the sense that we've still got switch colors. We can use a blank screen if we want the screen to be blank and the child to press the switch, so no prompt. We can choose to have big targets or small targets. We can have big mouse pointer, small pointer, where we can adjust the dwell click time, and we can also use high contrast targets if we would rather do that. So I'm going to use let's use a really big target and do it with a touch screen. And again, child touches with a finger. And there's lots of activities. There's over 20 something now, I think, activities in there. So we can do that. Maybe we don't want to use it online. We could go to download, and unlike every other subscription website, including websites like Help Kids Learn, all of the software that's on here, if you subscribe to it, you can download all of the software and keep it on your machine forever. It's not like it's going to die when your subscription finishes. It will be there forever. So if you subscribe to the website, you can download all this software and use it on your computer for as long as you want. There are lots of other resources too. I'm just going to quickly flip to the resources because I'm worried about time. And just show you some of the other resources. So there are lots of resources around the development of skills around using switches, touching, pointing devices, and eye gaze. All of the activities have a huge number of support resources around them too. So there's a little booklet which explains who the program's for, some useful ways in which you might want to use it, suggestions for alternatives to this program. If it's a switch program, you'll be able to download switch caps to print out and stick on the top of your switches and all of that. Everything that you need is there. I'll just pop back in again. There's a whole video archive of lots and lots and lots of little useful videos. So if you want to watch a video about move, cause and effect, you look at the activity guides. And you'll see if I go to here, it will open up a video about move, cause and effect. There are also other videos there too, so specifically training videos. So for example, if you wanted to hear what I think about eye gaze and what a progression of skills in eye gaze might look like, we can click here and watch the eye gaze progression video, and it looks at working effectively with an eye gaze system and talks through some of those processes. And again, there's lots of those, and I keep adding different ones to those as we go along. There's one other tab, which is I guess you could call it my rant tab. And it's filled with lots of little videos, usually of me having a rant about something or sharing something that I've seen or something quite interesting. So there's a nice video here about a colleague who asked me to make a switch accessible chocolate button machine, and this explains exactly how to do that. So if you get stuck with anything on this website, you click the FAQ button, and there's a whole lot of technical things, little tests to test to make sure your computer's going to work. You can use all of the activities on the iPad as long as you use a little free app called Puffin Browser. That works exactly the same with the free activities too. And everything you need is there. You want to subscribe, you click the subscribe button, and you can get a free trial if you want to try it out, or you can start a subscription, and that way. I'm just going to flick my screen to a different screen, so just bear with me 1 second, and then I'm going to shut up. Share my screen. It's that one. Yeah. So I guess just to finish, to say, well, if you were interested in the Senate software website, start a 7-day trial, have a look, try the activities out. The only restriction really on the free trial version is that it won't allow you to download the software, and some of the assessment materials and videos are restricted, largely because if I didn't, people would just watch all the videos, download all the software, and I'd never see them again. If you do decide that you want to subscribe, I've put on the screen now a little code. That's a discount code, and that knocks 33% off the cost. The normal cost for a year's subscription to Senate software website is £60. That drops the price down to £40, but it's only valid until the end of February. So I think that's me. I don't think if anybody's got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But I guess I think that's a kind of broad view of what's available. And remember, you don't have to buy 250 free ones.
So that's Colweb 19.
Colweb 19.
I'll pop that into Colweb. Was it 19? 19, I think. So, wow, Ian, thank you. That's just brilliant. There's such fantastic resources. Can I just ask, can you have an idea over the years how many resources you've probably made?
You see, it's a bit of it's always a bit of an odd one, because on the website currently, when I worked at Priory Woods, I made probably 200 at Priory Woods, maybe more. On this website, there's 250 there, plus another 50, so that's 500. But for every activity that you find on a website, there's usually at least one more, so often two more, that I've made for school where I'm not sharing it. So for example, a colleague will write to me and send me an email and say, I've got a child in my class and they really, really like this, their sister singing I'm a Little Teapot. And what happens is the teacher will then send me 6 photographs of the student and an MP3 file of the child's sister singing down a little teapot, and I'll make them an activity specifically for them. And I make activities like that five or six, 10 times a week. And nobody ever sees them other than the child and the class that they're in. They're specifically for them. I delete the activity once I know it works and they've got it. So I've probably made thousands probably over the years. And I never charged for any of them until just recently.
Yes, very, very generous. I was just thinking that back in the day when I first started, this is before the days of Clicker and all sorts of things, and I was working in a college and there were no resources. And had some students with adults with complex needs, and I used to spend my weekends using a program called Macromedia Director to make little activities. So I would spend the whole weekend doing this, then I'd go into class the next day, and the activities would be finished after 5 minutes. So I appreciate how much time and effort goes into these things. It really is a lot of work, isn't it?
There's a bit of thinking around the idea, because obviously I've seen this happen so many times over the years. So make an activity. So for example, I made an activity at Christmas time called we built this city on sausage rolls, because people ask me for things that are current. I like to make things that are in current and that in kids are listening to at home and stuff. But I go into schools and I see people whizzing through lots and lots of activities, but actually the students really enjoying them, and really enjoying the first one. And often it's the staff themselves that need the change. So I don't have a problem really, as long as the kids are enjoying themselves, as long as the staff are enjoying themselves, because that's just as important. If the staff are working with the student are having fun while they're doing it, that's infectious, and the children enjoy it too. So
yeah, it works all around, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, I've never seen so much adulation in the text pane as what you're getting today, so lots of thanks for that. But if anyone has any questions, Helen's asking, for example, are your original Priory Woods programs still available?
Believe it or not, they're still on the Priory Woods website, and the last time that was updated by me was 2004. So there's still things like Gareth Gates. However, I do have all of them. And if anybody would like a link, because I don't think you can download them now from the Priory Woods website, but I can certainly give Craig a link to download them all in one go if you want to do that. I certainly haven't put them back online, apart from ones that I've updated. So the ones I've updated were things like Bugs. If your colleagues remember Bugs from the Priory Woods website, it was a kind of belching fart in all manner of things. I updated that. I updated the counting songs, so Five Naughty Monkeys and Five Little Ducks. So a couple of them I've updated, and you'll find those on both websites, and you can download them from both websites free, so you don't need them. Yeah, I see there about the Advent calendar. That was another decision, and I spent best part of a month developing most of the activities for the Advent calendar, and it was the most useful month I've ever spent, because the number of people who used the Advent calendar exceeded 350,000 in a month.
That's a huge okay. Well, thanks, Ian. I don't think there's many more questions. Lee's maybe typing something in, but otherwise, I think we will maybe just finish the session, and it will be ready as an archive tomorrow. So if you want to tell your friends about it or have a look, it will be up on the webinar archive page. So it will be there. So thanks again, Ian, and good luck with all your travels and developments that you're doing. It's great.